And as you know, among other things, a subcommittee chaired by Mary Sue Coleman of the University of Michigan drafted a letter signed by a very large number of university presidents pledging themselves to work toward the ends of regional innovation. My own view is that while around here, and certainly by our charter, the work of the national academies tends to be primarily focused on national and federal issues, the fact is that all the energy is local. Entrepreneurship, by definition, is local, certainly in early stages. The direct transfer that is most important of all, which is people moving around from academia to industry and so forth, is local. And there's lots of energy. But as an old mechanical engineer who used to teach thermodynamics, I think that part of the problem is the molecules are all bouncing around in a pretty random way. And the hard problem we're all facing is how do we gain some coherence at the local level. Universities are absolutely key to this, and we always think of their primary roles, quite properly, as a source of new ideas and new technology. Most important of all, newly trained and smart and energetic and up-to-date graduates as producers of ideas and so forth. But the fact is that the research also shows that when you ask companies about why did you locate in location X or why did you grow in location Y, they will very frequently tell you that the presence of the university provides them with something of an honest broker, a neutral meeting ground for people from business who might not otherwise be talking to each other as much. And so the universities have a very essential role. But the question is how to move all this forward. And I'm a great believer that the primary thing we have to do is really identify and learn best practices. And I'm hoping that our panel, I'm not hoping, I know our panel can help us with certainly at least an important subset of what they have learned about best practice. And my last comment before we get started is that to me it's really important that locations, cities, regions, states, whatever, really think hard about their unique skill sets and opportunities and really try to figure out where to build local strength. The fact is every place cannot be and should not be the next Silicon Valley. We need to be figuring out what the next things that need to be done are. And sometimes those are really truly new things. Sometimes it's bringing innovation into fairly old kinds of activities. But anyway, how do we release all this energy and brain power and do our best to help get our economy both back on track and sustained for the long haul? We have an outstanding panel today to address this. They bring varied perspectives and experience from the university level, from state organization levels, and in one case from both very high federal position and a very strong state background. You all have the bios. I'm not going to read them. I'm going to just make a couple of very quick comments right up front now on each panelist, and then we'll get started. The drill is going to be for each panelist to take around 5 minutes to open with some comments and remarks that they would like to offer for your consideration and enlightenment. Then we'll spend a little bit of time probably in discussion among the panelists, but then try to open up for brief questions from the audience. And then if we do our work well, we'll be ready for lunch right after that. So we're going to use a very innovative approach today. We're going to go in alphabetical order. So our first panelist who will speak to us is Dan Carroll, who is the Director of Multi-State Initiatives for the Governor of Oregon. He is a member of the Global Clinton Initiative and a founder of the Clean Economy Network. Also teaches public policy at the University of Oregon. He will be followed by Aneesh Chopra, well known to all of you, I'm sure, who has the enviable or unenviable title, depending on your perspective, of being the Chief Technology Officer of the United States. I like this. You know, there's also a Controller of the United States. That was the title I really wanted. And in this role, Aneesh serves as an assistant to the president, associate director of OSVP, but very relevant to today's work, in addition to his federal White House perspective, he served for several years as Secretary of Technology for the Commonwealth of Virginia. He will be followed by the most questionable member of the panel, Marvin Parnes. The questionableness comes from the fact that I've known him since the age of the dinosaurs. Marvin is...
Chuck was a very good department chair.
Marvin is an Associate VP for Research and Executive Director of Research Administration at the University of Michigan, and has been active in the restructuring of technology transfer at that university, as well in a number of state, region, and national activities. And another friend of longer standing than either one of us want to admit is Luis Proenza, who currently is president of the University of Akron, and a really experienced leader in national science and technology policy matters, among other things. He's been on the President's Council of Advisors of Science and Technology, PCAST, and currently is on the executive, and has been on the executive committee of the National Innovation Initiative Leadership Council of the Council on Competitiveness. So please, colleagues, consider yourself introduced, and we're going to turn directly to Dane Carroll.
This mic was broken.
Yeah,
Oh, they swapped
we're
out.
supposed to
They
pass
swapped
this
out.
one
Okay.
down. Well,
There you go. Am I here? Am I here?
no.
Oh, I'm not here.
Let's just pass it.
Now you are.
That's on. It's on.
Is that better? Okay. So greetings, my name again is Dan Carroll, and actually I started working as, I think I'm the first director of multi-state initiatives for Governor Kitzhaber in Oregon about 74 days ago. And for the last couple of years, since working as the issues director on the Obama campaign, I've been working with a think tank in Washington and teaching at the University of Oregon. And the focus has been on bottom-up innovation, regionalism, et cetera. And just, you know, the title of the panel, University Participation in Regionalism, sort of begs the question of what is regionalism. And, you know, for me, just so you know where I'm coming from, with both enough policy to be dangerous, but also a campaign background, you know, to me, there is essentially, how many people have seen the movie Avatar? You know, with the blue people or whatever. Okay, so I think there is a bottom-up tribe that's out there, blue people tribe, if you will, governors, mayors, entrepreneurs, manufacturers, go down the line, universities. There's a lot of people who are looking for more bottom-up, less top-down, fewer silos, more flexible federalism, more flexible dollars, that live in the messy last mile of life where intermediaries or Mesozoic era, what was Tim talking about, that are united by and want to run and we're in a campaign to actually do better. And the blue people are not shooting arrows at each other, but they're not actually directing their fire, I think for a bunch of reasons. And generally, you know, I divided it into sort of message, mechanics, and money. So the message piece, just quickly, I mean, I'm not going to get into some of the public opinion research around this stuff, but, you know, we have a 40, 50, 60-year-old, you know, policy lexicon that divides us. I mean, a bunch of money went to the DOE, all of a sudden they're in the economic development business, and they don't even know about the manufacturing extension partnerships, and go on and on and on. So at the end of the day, it takes usually about a day of meeting for everyone to be like, let's get mechanisms. We need mechanisms to bridge across systems that are broken or institutions that aren't working well. And then the third thing is, once we've got our message and our mechanisms, usually we need money, flexible finance. We can plan all we want. If we don't have project money, frustration occurs, and I know we've all experienced that. Let me just address a couple of questions on the actual panel description. So university roles and resource questions. So on the role question, I like to try to always drive the conversation about collaboration from not, you know, there's only one piece of pizza on the table and it's kind of like who gets the last piece of pizza, but you know, what are five, when there's five pieces pizza pie's on the table, then there's plenty to eat for everyone. So I want to try to be optimistic both in terms of roles for universities as new business lines, what are opportunity areas, and then try to actually identify in an era of shrinking federal dollars, what are other opportunities that are out there. So it's a more, let's go after this together. It's easy to collaborate when you have a shared big vision as opposed to when you're just looking at that one thing. So clearly one business line for universities that's out there is this idea of neutral convener, community convener, Switzerland, et cetera. And I think it's a good thing, you know, at the street level, the sort of messy last mile of life, I mean, having community-based conveners actually do economic development in the many towns and cities that are out there. Let's not forget that importance of that network. You know, I don't know that university is the best place to carry that out, but in terms of helping to fix the federal footprint and to work with, you know, in Oregon, we have state solution centers that we've set up under Governor Kitzhaber that bring 5 federal agencies, sort of one-stop shops. We have them set up in 6 places in the universities around the country. And you know, the cement is barely dry on this process. You know, Kitzhaber's been in a year. But I think how universities and states and others can work to kind of invite the federal government in to work together across agencies, et cetera. I mean, I think there's a lot of examples that are perking up around the country. And I think universities as a lead place for that, without overselling their ability to be an actual economic development entity for cities and towns, I think is a good business line. Related to that is local technical assistance. And I want to talk about infrastructure in a second. There is a huge local technical assistance gap around, I want to be in the clean energy business, around changes in municipal finance that we're seeing. And so how universities can actually help provide capacity for local technical assistance is a key opportunity. There's something called the Sustainable Cities Initiative at the University of Oregon that works with cities and towns intensively. 20 classes working this year with Springfield, Oregon. When I was on the faculty of the University of Oregon, I was one of the classes that we would do. So the idea of public university engaging intensively with the place and focusing on local technical assistance, planning. I mean, basically, you know, the University of Oregon is throwing about $600,000 in, you know, actual capacity at the city of Springfield. And having been a grad student at University of North Carolina a long time ago, sometimes grad students suck down a lot of capacity, but I think the way this program has been designed is a little bit better.